everyone. A very warm welcome to the class, guys. Let us see if we are live, and I'll also check the audio and then we will continue. Okay, so we are live. Check the audio and then we will continue. The audio is also working fine. Okay, great. All right, guys. So a very warm. I'll just keep this here. Let's go back to the video. A very warm welcome to the class. I really hope that you guys are doing absolutely fine, and welcome to today's class. And I'm sorry I could not take a class yesterday because there was some issue with the OBS, so I was not able to do it. So, but today there is no problem, and definitely we'll be continuing with our class. So, very warm welcome to the class, and before we start, I would request all of you to do join the Telegram channel for regular updates, because this is where you will get updates regarding your classes, plus you will also get your notes from here. So whatever files we upload during the class, the PDF of that file will be uploaded in the Telegram group itself. All right, so please do join the Telegram group. The link and the scan code both have been given. Chaliye. So before let's begin with our lecture today. So today, as I told you, I'll be talking about Buddhism and Jainism. So guys, I know आप ये सोच रहे होगे कि ma'am this has already been covered. So you know, why are we again talking about Buddhism and Jainism once again? See guys, I want to talk about Buddhism and Jainism once again because here I will be talking about it in much more details. We have covered the NCERT syllabus, right? And now we have to cover the entire thing from a state perspective, state PSC point of view. Fine? Chaliye. So first of all, we are going to look at the causes of the rise of Jainism and Buddhism. Now let me explain it to you in very brief that what are the causes here. So now, if you all remember what has happened in the 6th century BC and particularly in the later Vedic age. So we have rise of all kinds of social evils here. Particularly, there is a growth of a jati. Okay, there's a growth of a particular jati. Now, this jati, or they're known as untouchables. So there is a group of people who have been marginalized to I don't know what extent, right? They've been marginalized. You can't see them, you can't touch them. So you are literally treating human beings as untouchables, which was very draconian on our part, I would say. Now, these people are obviously not going to live like that, right? They can't really continue living like that. Ki, oh, okay, fine, you know, people are treating us bad, it's fine. They are going to look for alternatives which will provide them the equality which is needed, right? And that alternative and that equality was actually provided by by Buddhism and Jainism. Okay, so let's first talk about the causes. So this is a general cause. There are certain specific causes as well, so that we will take a look at now. So the first cause that we have to understand is the Kshatriya resentment towards domination of the priestly class. Now we have 4 varnas, right? Brahmins, Vaishyas, Kshatriyas and Shudras. Okay. Now the Kshatriyas have taken the second rank, and they did have a lot of privileges, but obviously their privileges were very less as compared to the Brahmins here. Okay. The Brahmins were enjoying a lot of privileges. Fine. It should be noted that both Mahavir and Buddha belong to the Kshatriya Varna. It is important to mention that Buddhist texts at many places reject the Brahminical claim to superiority and places itself, the Kshatriyas, higher than the Brahmins. So, even though the Kshatriyas were rulers, they were dominated very much by the Brahmins. And the Kshatriyas obviously did not like this. They did not like that how the Brahmins were dominating them in various fields, not just in the priestly classes, but they were dominating them in other aspects as well. So that is something they did not like. And both Buddha and Mahavir actually belonged to the Kshatriya clan. And in fact, there were places, all right, where Buddha and Mahavir have rejected the Brahminical superiority and claimed that Kshatriyas were much higher. Now, the next cause is the rise of agricultural economy that needed animal husbandry. Let's try to understand that why this was have contributed to the rise of Buddhism and Jainism. In 6th century BCE, there was a shift of center of economic and political activity from Haryana and western UP to eastern UP in Bihar. The land was obviously more fertile. So this is also the time period of the rise of Mahajanapadas, guys. And we're talking about which Mahajanapada here? We're talking about the Mauryan Empire here. Fine. So, and we all know that Mauryan Empire lies in the Bihar belt. It is a land which is much more fertile due to abundant of rainfall. At the same time, it is located on the Ganga Valley, which makes the soil really fertile. Now, it also became very easy to utilize the iron reservoir or the iron mines which are there in Bihar and adjoining areas of Jharkhand. Hence, it became very easy to use these tools to make iron plowshare or iron tools and etc. Fine. So the use of iron plowshare required the use of bullocks, which meant that the age-old custom of Vedic age of killing animal for sacrifices had to be abandoned for a stabilized agricultural economy. So what really happened? Now, I'm sure you know that for using the plow, you need bullocks, right? The bullocks are the ones who are going to pull the plow ahead, fine? So now, this kind of agriculture actually required a good stable animal production, a good stable amount of animals, so that they could have a stable agricultural economy. Fine. So during the early Vedic age, there was this tradition of killing animals in sacrifices. In fact, if you read the Rig Veda, there's a list given as to which animals can be sacrificed during which of the yagyas. Fine. So hence now they needed to move away from that sacrificing tradition so that the animals could be there. Fine, the animals could be there. The animals are important, okay, and hence the sacrifices had to be abandoned so that they could have a stabilized agricultural economy. Furthermore, the flourishing of animal husbandry became imminent to raise a potential animal population to take up the work that was required to uphold agricultural sector. So both Buddhism and Jainism were against any kind of sacrifices and the peasant class welcomed it. So the peasant class whose income is dependent on the animal husbandry factor or basically whose income is dependent on agriculture, when these people saw that there was a tradition that was completely against sacrifices, they readily welcomed it and they readily accepted it because it really helped them in the economic organization. All right. Please let me know if you have any doubts here. Just read through the points here and let me know if there's anything you don't understand. The live chat is open for you all the time, guys. So just let me know. If there's anything you did not understand here, you can always ask. चलिए आगे बढ़ते हैं. Now, let's look at other reasons. So, Vaishyas and the other mercantile groups favored Buddhism and Jainism as they yearned for a better social and peaceful life. So, the Vaishyas and the other mercantile groups. So, what is happening with them? Let me explain their situation and then I'll explain the entire thing to you. Now, the agricultural boom led to increased production of food, which obviously helped with the development of craft production, urban centers, and trade. The discovery of thousands of silver and copper punched mark coins by the numismatics reflect the development of trade in this era. The period is known as the era of second urbanization. As many as 60 towns and cities like Rajgaha, Saraswati, Varanasi, Vaishali, Champa all developed between 600 and 300 BCE. So, what is happening here? See, agriculture, the output of agriculture has increased. Okay, so agricultural output has increased. Now, with the increase of the agricultural output, obviously there is a lot of surplus available. What do you do with the surplus? You sell this surplus. So, when you sell this surplus, there is development of trade, craft, urban centers. Fine. This period is also known as the era of second urbanization. Please remember this, guys. And what is the era of first urbanization? The first urbanization is the era of Indus Valley civilization. Okay. So as many as 60 towns and cities like Rajgaha, Saraswati, Varanasi, Vaishali, Champa, all of these cities have developed, all right, and these were actually various, trading centers. Dekha jaye to they were urban centers and trading centers. The Vaishyas and other mercantile groups rose to better economic position and preferred to patronize non-Vedic religion through substantial donations. So these people, the Vaishyas particularly, in the mercantile groups, they obviously have attained a better economic position and they wanted to support non-Vedic religion like Buddhism and Jainism. And how were they doing so? They were doing so by supporting, or basically through donations, by giving donations to Buddhism and Jainism. Fine. Now, as both Buddhism and Jainism promoted peace and non-violence, this could put an end to wars between different kingdoms and consequently promote trade and commerce. Now, Buddhism and Jainism was completely against what, guys? They were completely against your non-violence, right? So when they were completely against non-violence, what will happen? The kingdoms will stop fighting each other. There would be no wars, and all of these would not become a cause of disrupting trade. Now, when the trade would not be disrupted, what is going to happen? It will be really beneficial for the economic class, particularly the mercantile class. All right. So that is another reason why they supported Buddhism and Jainism. Acceptance of simple and peace-centered principles of Buddhism and Jainism by the people. So the people also were very much inspired by what is known as the acceptance of peace-centered principles of Buddhism and Jainism. Let me explain what is happening here. The common masses welcomed the new religions, as they preached peace and social equality, simple and ascetic living. People wanted relief from the growing social problems and yearned to live peaceful and uncorrupt lives. So this is actually telling you about what I just told you in the beginning of the lecture. Okay, what I just told you in the beginning of the lecture is that there were a lot of people who have been marginalized, guys, right? And they wanted to live a peaceful and an uncorrupt life, and that was something which was being offered to them by Buddhism and Jainism, and hence they willingly took it up. Okay, let me know if you have any doubts here, otherwise we'll continue. The live chat is open, guys. If you don't understand anything, you can always put it there. Please let me know if there's anything you don't understand here. Okay. And this is quite clear, so I think we should move ahead. Now, let's talk about Gautam Buddha and Buddhism. The early Buddhist literature, as to now, how do we know about Gautam Buddha and Buddhism, right? We get to know about Gautam Buddha and Buddhism through literature or Buddhist literature. Now, it is divided into two parts: canonical, okay, all right, and non-canonical. Fine. What do you mean by this? Now, canonical text or canonical text is actually the actual words of Buddha. Fine. So, it's canonical text, guys. So, canonical texts are books which are laid down the basic tenets and principles of Buddhism, such as the Tripitakas. So, actually, we have this text, the canonical text. Now, these canonical texts, what is the difference between canonical and non-canonical? The difference is that in canonical text, it is believed that the actual words of Buddha have been recorded. Okay. So the actual words of Buddha lay down the principles of Buddhism. Okay. What does it do? It lays down the principles of Buddhism, what Buddhism is, what are the major principles, and this can be found in the Tripitakas, guys. So we have three Tripitakas, all right. So we have Abhidham. So we have three Tripitakas, which I will talk about in the later part of the chapter. Okay. Now, let's talk about the non-canonical text. So non-canonical text and semi-canonical text are basically commentaries and observations on the canonical text, quotes, definitions, historic information, grammar and other things. So non-canonical में क्या होगा? So non-canonical is basically the same thing. It's just that it is commentary on the canonical text. So suppose the canonical text says that Buddhism is following the middle path or the fourfold path. So the non-canonical text is going to explain what those fourfold paths are. Okay. It will explain ki, okay, this is the first path, these are the rules and regulations, this is the second path, these are the rules and regulations. So the non-canonical texts are actually observations and commentaries on the canonical text. Fine. So like definition, quotes, explanation, grammars, and everything would be included in that. Fine. There are various languages in which they are available, like Pali, Tibetan, Chinese, and other East Asian languages. Okay, so let's talk about the non-canonical text and the important non-canonical text, particularly from the point of view of Buddhism. So first of all, we have the Mahavastu. Fine, Mahavastu. It is about the sacred biography. It is the hagiography of Buddha. So what is this? This is the biography of Buddha. We have Nindana Katha, which is the first connected life story of Buddha. So this has got certain life stories of Buddha. We have Deep Vamsh and Mahavamsh. This was produced in Sri Lanka, guys. Both give historical and mythical accounts of Buddha's life, the Buddhist Council, Ashoka, and how Buddhism arrived in Sri Lanka. Okay? Then we have the Vishuddhi Magga. Now, this is the path to purification, that how by following Buddhism you can finally ultimately achieve nirvana. Then we have Milinda Panho. Now, this consists of dialogues between two Indo-Greek. So, there's a Indo-Greek ruler, Meander or Milinda, and a Buddhist monk, Nag Sen. And finally, at the end of this conversation, Milinda actually turns or converts into Buddhism. So, if you remember, I did tell you about this when we were doing the Indo-Greeks. Okay. Then we have Neti Pakarna. Now, this is the book of guidance. It is connected account of Buddha's teaching. So, how Buddha is guiding you in Buddhism, all the teachings of Buddhism will be contained in this book. Okay. Now, let's just move ahead. Let's do few more slides, and then we can clear some doubts together. All right, let's talk about the Tripitakas. Earliest compilation of Buddhist teachings have been found in the Tripitakas. Tripitakas actually means basket, okay? So all the branches of Buddhism have Tripitakas, means three basket, all right? So it is the collection of core scriptures and everything else. So about the philosophy of Buddhism, about the teachings of Buddhism, how you have to live in the Sangha, the rules and regulations, all of that would be contained in the Tripitakas. Now these are canonical text, guys. Okay? Now, so we have three Tripitakas. We have the Sut Pitak. Now this contains the teachings of Buddhism. The Vinay Pitak, it contains the rules and regulations, the discipline which has to be followed by the people who are living in the Sangha. Then we have the Abhidham Pitak. Now this is about the philosophy of Buddhism. Okay, let's talk about what they're saying. I've already explained, so I'll just read through and let me know if you have any doubts here. So Sut Pitak, these texts are also known as Buddha Vachan. By Buddha Vachan, because they are actually the sayings of Buddha. Okay? They are the words of Buddha which have been recorded. It contains Buddha's discourse on various doctrinal issues in the dialogue form. The Vinay Pitak, it contains rules for monks and nuns of the monastic order. It includes the Patimokkha, which is a list of transgressions against monastic discipline and the atonements for these. So basically, Patimokkha basically is if you go against. So basically, there are certain rules and regulations. And if you go against these rules and regulations, what are the ways in which you can atone it? Okay? The Vinay text also includes doctrinal expositions, ritual text, biographical stories, and some elements of Jataks or birth stories of Buddha as well. The Abhidham Pitak, this contains a thorough study and systemization of the teachings of Sut Pitak, alright, through summaries, questions, answers, and lists. Okay, so let me know if you have any doubts here, otherwise we'll move ahead. So in this and in this, these two slides, if you have any doubts. Yes. Let me know, guys, if you have any doubts, if there's anything you don't understand in both these slides. I'm sorry because I know the texts are hiding, but I'll make sure that from next time onwards, this part, the part where I am, the right hand side, will be empty so that your text does not hide. Let's move ahead. Now we have to look at the ways in which the books are divided. There are a lot of books, guys. You have to remember these names. These names are very, very, very important. They can ask you these names in MCQs, and I know it is very difficult, but there's nothing we can do. We have to remember these names. Okay. So the Tripitakas are divided into Nikayas. Okay. So Sut Pitak is divided into 5 Nikayas, which is Digh Nikaya, Majjhima Nikaya, Samyukta Nikaya, Anguttara Nikaya, and Khuddaka Nikaya. Okay. So please remember these names. At least remember that they're divided into 5 collections. Remember few of the names here. Fine. The Nikayas are further divided into 15 books. Okay. So we have the Vinay Pitak, the Sud Vibhanga, Mahavibhanga, Bhikkhuni Vibhanga, Khadaga, Mahavaga, Kaluvaga, and Parivara. Fine. Abhidham Pitak is now further divided into 7 books. Dhamma Sangani, Vibhanga, Dhatu Katha, Pagalapanati, Kahyavathu, Yamaka, and Patahana. Fine. I know these names are very difficult to remember, guys, but at least try to remember few of them. I know ये बहुत ज़्यादा है. I know it is difficult for anyone to remember such things. कोशिश कीजिएगा, please. I know. I completely understand. So I really hope that there's no doubts here, because these are just names which you have to remember. Okay. Now, let's talk about Buddha, a little bit of his biography, about his hagiography. So let's talk about that. Gautam Buddha was born to Shuddhodhan, a chief of the Republican Sakya clan, as Siddharth, on Vaishak Purnima day on Lumbini. This is in Nepal. So what is his birthplace, guys? His birthplace is Lumbini, and this is the name of his father. Okay. Please remember the name of the father here. It is very important. He lost his mother, Mahamaya, just a few days after the birth, and was brought up by his stepmother. She was also his Masi, and she was also the foster mother. So he was brought up by Mahapajapati Gautami. There were 32 birthmarks on his body, and the Brahmins predicted that either he would be a world conqueror or a world renouncer. So he chose the other path, obviously. So how many birthmarks were there on his body? There were around 32 birthmarks on his body, and it was predicted that either he would be a world conqueror, so just like Ashoka, either he could be that or he would be a world renouncer, and he chose the other path. So he was married to Yashodhara at the age of 16, and they had a son named Rahul. At the age of 29, he left everything and he became a wanderer. He, along with Chana, who was his charioteer, and his horse Kanthaka. Again, guys, these are important points. Please remember the names here. Who is the charioteer? Chana. Who is the horse? Kanthaka. They wandered for 6 long years in search of truth, which is Mahaparinibban. Now, he first meditated with Alara Kalama and then Udaka Ramaputta. They were considered to be established teachers of that era, but he was not convinced with their teachings that liberation from sorrow can be attained by mental discipline and knowledge only. So who did he first started who did he first started meditating with? So he first meditated with Alara Kalama, okay? And then he meditated with Udaka Ramaputta. Please remember these names again, very important. Okay, so he first meditated with these people. They were very important teachers. They were renowned teachers of that particular point of time, guys. But he was not satisfied with their teaching. Now, according to their teachings, liberation can be attained by mental discipline and knowledge only. Now, Buddha did not believe in it, and Buddha was not satisfied with the teaching. So then he joined the 5 wandering monks, the Asaji, Mahanama, Vapa, Bedya, and Kandana. Again, very important point here. Please remember these names. Sorry. So we have Mahanama, Vapa, Badia and Kondana. He practiced severe austerities until his body almost emancipated and realized that austerities could not lead to realization and left them. So he actually practiced what is known as bodily mortification. He literally, he was in a near-death situation because of what he was doing. Okay, he literally reached a near-death situation. Fine. But obviously, he decided that this is not something which he can continue, and he left that also. And he realized that this is not how you attain salvation. Okay. So he decided to do what? He decided to leave this thing. Okay. So he then resolved not to rise until enlightenment was achieved. Okay. So what did he then? He moved towards the village of Senani and took a seat under the peepal tree. And he then resolved that he was not going to move unless and until he has achieved enlightenment, or he has, realized the ultimate truth. Let's move ahead and then we can clear some doubts together. As Gautama, he was, deep in meditation. Mara, the lord of illusions, recognizing that his power is about to be broken, tried to distract him. Now, we don't really know whether this really happened for sure or not. This might be fiction also. The Buddha touched the earth, calling it to bear witness to the countless lifetimes of virtue that had led him to this place of enlightenment. The earth shook, and on hearing the truth of Gautama's word, Mara then unleashed his army of demons. Now, in an epic battle that happened between Gautam's wisdom broke through the illusion, and the power of his compassion transformed the demons' weapons into flowers. Now, this again, guys, this might not be a true anecdote. All right, this can be fiction. This can be folklore as well. Okay, so this is basically a battle between Mara, who was the lord of illusions, and Gautam. Now, Gautam, because, he had such, wide variety of wisdom, or that he had such wisdom, that his wisdom actually broke. Okay, his wisdom broke the illusion of Mara, and जो उनके demons थे, whatever demons he had brought along with him, their weapons were transformed into flowers. Mara and his army fled in disarray. Thus, at the age of 35, he ultimately attained Nirvana at Bodh Gaya under the peepal tree, which is also known as the Bodhi tree, on the banks of River Niranjan, and came to be known as the Buddha, or the Enlightened One. It is believed that Ashoka's queen was envious of the Bodhi tree and tried to kill it, but it grew again. The tree was cut down many times, but it grew again at the same time and is still revered by Buddhists. So where did Buddha finally attain his nirvana? He attained his nirvana in Bodh Gaya under the Bodhi tree. It is now a historical place. People go to visit this place. This is in Bodh Gaya. It is like, I think, 3-hour drive from Patna. So you can always visit these places if you ever get time. Now, it is believed that Ashoka's queen was really jealous of this tree. She tried to cut it down many times, but it always grew back. Now, Buddha delivered his first sermon on deliverance from suffering to his 5 former companions at Sarnath. So, where did he give it first sermon? His first sermon was given in Sarnath. This event is known as Dhamma Chakra Pavatana, or Dharma Chakra Parivartan. Please remember this point, guys. This is very important. What is the event known as? The event when Buddha gave his first sermon, that event is known as Dharma Chakra Pavatana, which means the turning of wheel of Dharma. Fine. The Buddha wandered about for over 4 decades and established an order of monks and nuns known as a Sangha. He attained parinirvana at the age of 88 Kusinagara. Fine. His last words were, all composite things decay, strive and diligently. So what is happening here? So he gave his first sermon in Sarnath, all right, which is known as your Dhamma Chakra Parivartan or Dhamma Chakra Parivartana, which means the turning of wheel of Dharma. The Buddha, he basically kept wandering for around 4 decades, for 40 years. Ultimately, he founded the Sangha. Sangha was an order of Buddhist monks and nuns. And he also attained his Mahaparinirvan at the age of 80 at Kusinagra. His last words were, all composite things decay, strive diligently. Means everything has to come to an end. Choose your battles wisely. Not everything is to be fought by you. So these are five very important, these are five forms that represent Buddha. So the lotus and bull represent his birth. Horse represents his renunciation. Bodhi tree represents how he attained enlightenment. Dharma Chakra Parivartan represents his first sermon. The footprints represents Nirvana. Please again guys, ये तो बहुत ही important है. I would say very important. Please remember these points. Okay, please remember these points. Okay, ये points बहुत ज़्यादा important है. ये points ज़रूर याद रखिएगा कि इतने सारे these symbols have been used to represent Buddhism. Okay, or represents the various aspect of Buddha's life. Okay, all right. Let me know if you have any doubts in these two slides. The live chat is open, guys. If you have any doubts in any of these two slides, please let me know. Any doubts, anything that you might not have understood, you can always ask. Okay, chaliye. Let's move ahead. Let's talk about the doctrines of Buddhism. The core of Buddha's doctrine is expressed in the Arya Satyayani, which is the Four Noble Truths. Okay? So, Ashinaga Marg or Ashtang Marg or the Eightfold Path, the middle path, the social code of conduct, and the attainment of Nirvana. Okay? So the core of Buddha's doctrine is expressed in the fourfold path, the eightfold path, the middle path, the social code of conduct, and how are you going to attain Nirvana. Okay? Let's talk about this. Buddha urges that one should not cling on to anything, including his teachings. The teachings are only upai, or these are, ways, and not dogmas. These are not to be followed. These are not rules. These are just ways. It is fingers pointing at the moon, but should not confuse the finger for the moon. All right. So what is he saying? That you're pointing your fingers at the moon. So you should not basically confuse. Your focus should be on the moon and not the finger. Alright, so that is what he's saying. Your focus should be on ultimately Mahaparinibban or Nirvan and not the ways in which you are achieving it. Okay? The three pillars of teachings are, first of all, we have Buddha, he is the founder and the teacher. We have Dhamma, his teachings are actually in Dhamma. Sangha is the order of Buddhist monks and nuns. The four noble truths from the core of Buddha's teachings are, the four noble truths are dukkha. Now, according to Buddha, everyone is suffering. Okay, it refers to the potential experience of pain, not the actual pain and sorrow experienced by an individual. Okay, so what are they saying? It refers to the potential experience of pain, like the pain that you can experience or the pain that you might experience. Okay, and according to Buddha, everyone is actually suffering. Then we have samudaya, fine. Samudaya, or basically Trishna. It is the desire is the main cause of suffering. Okay. Now desire is the main cause of suffering. So basically if you don't have desire, fine, or if you live a very simple life, then obviously you will not have these suffering. Only when we desire something, we're not able to fulfill it, that we start suffering. Now, then Nirodha. Nirodha is the pain and sorrow that it can be attained by, which can be ended by the attainment of Nirvana. So Buddha actually taught us a very good thing. He said that, you can't move away from desires in your real life, isn't it? So he said that you should follow a middle path. Means you should not be overindulgent and neither you should give up on everything. There has to be a middle path in between. Fine. And he obviously says that desires is something that you can't just give up like that. Okay. But you can get freedom from those desires once you have attained nirvana or once you have attained salvation. Okay. So that's what he is talking about. Fine. So guys, it will, today's lecture, we will stop here only because I don't want to tell you a lot of things which you will not be able to process. So let's stop here only itself. I really hope that you've understood everything that we have done till now. If there's any difficulty, any doubts, anything that you don't understand, you can let me know. I just want to explain one thing. Now, these are the core of Buddha's teachings. Now, we will be talking about them individually. Fine, we'll be talking about the eightfold path, the fourfold path, the middle path, everything we'll be talking about individually. Okay? These are the three pillars of Buddha's teachings. Fine. Okay, these are the three pillars of Buddha's teachings. And finally, this is the four noble truth on which his teachings would be based. All right. So these teachings that we talk about above, these teachings are based on this fourfold issues. Fine. And that we will talk about in the next class. Let me know if there's anything that you have not understood. If you have any doubts here, please let me know, guys. The live chat is open. I am looking at the live chat. You can let me know if there's anything you don't understand. Alright guys, I think I'll end the session then. So before you all leave, I would request everyone to join the Telegram group. Alright, the link and the scan code both have been given. Okay, both have been given and you can definitely join the group. You should definitely join the group because this is where you will get updates regarding the classes, guys. You will also get your notes in the PDF format from here itself. All right, whatever notes, whatever we upload, so you will get it from here itself. All right, And also guys, before you all leave, I would request all of you to like this session. Also please share it with your friends. If you have any doubts after watching the session in a recorded format, please do drop a comment and let us know if there is anything you don't understand. If there's something you like, you can tell us. If there's something you don't like, we'll be more than happy to improve upon it. So please do let us know. And also guys, before leaving, I would request everyone to subscribe to the channel, press the bell notification so that you get notified every time we post a new video or every time any of our teachers are live. So thank you so much guys. It was a pleasure to have you on board, and thank you so much for watching. I will see you all in the next class. Bye bye. See you. Take care. Thank you.